Hello.
Hello.
We want to start right off the bat with a little preamble / disclaimer. This is a podcast about recovery, ran by two comedians in recovery. That's it. Everything we say is based on our personal recovery journey.
And no matter where you are in your personal recovery journey, whether you're actively engaging in your addiction or 4 years in, you are welcome to listen.
But that being said, we're not trained to handle a crisis. We're not trained to handle anything, honestly.
If you can't tell, this podcast is pretty hard to manage for us.
But if you are in a crisis, check out the show notes for some trusted resources that may help you and keep fighting the good fight.
Axios.
And now for the show.
Functioning.
Examples of functioning. Navigational sensors aren't functioning. Glad to see you still fully functioning.
Where'd you go?
Sorry, the cat wanted out.
Lame. I just saved a dog.
You what?
Yeah, like not even an hour ago. I was walking back from the grocery store and this dog was trying to run across Ashland Avenue, across like near my street, which is like a 4-lane boulevard. And I had to run out and grab him. A little Yorkie guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did it thank you?
No, I saw he was like rah, and so I put him down once I got to the sidewalk, and then he just like ran under a fence, and so I assumed that's where he lives. Whatever, ungrateful piece of shit. I don't care. he's not on the street. My concern was that I was more concerned about the flow of traffic than I was about the dog himself.
Yeah, that was more of like a governmental problem. Just got to keep it moving. Let's not worry about the cat or the dog or whatever. Well, good. I assume what?
It's been a minute.
Yeah. I was just thinking that we're gonna have to like mark a clip where the podcast will actually begin because it's been a long time since we've talked to each other.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just include all of this. It's fine.
No. I think we should just.
Our listeners want to hear my dog story.
This isn't worth even like a Patreon exclusive.
I think it is. I think we're developing a real voice here.
Yeah. Not a real audience though.
It's been a minute. I think it's important. The podcast will be starting right now at 4:42. So I initially started this podcast because I was curious about this energy that I had suspected that other functioning alcoholics had, this like uncommon energy that really like powered them through drinking all night and waking up and like maintaining a job and like this wild sort of discipline that comes from that. And I learned in our 6-month hiatus from this podcast that energy was actually called hypomania, and that's me. I just have hypomania. And apparently a side effect of hypomania is, of course, drug and alcohol abuse. And guess what I've been doing for the last 15 years or more, 20 years? Abusing alcohol and drugs.
Well, so how is it like a nice reinterpretive lens to have that diagnosis and then look back at the past and go, okay.
Canceling the podcast. We're done. It's over. No, I'm kidding. We're going to keep going.
Yeah, you have all your answers. Why keep going?
I figured it out. Yeah. It's been interesting reframing everything with this new diagnosis. That's been the most interesting thing.
What does that mean? What is hypomania? What is it? How is that like expressed?
It's different for everybody, so okay. It's hard to really answer that question, but it's sort of like It's sort of like, from what I understand, it's a little bit like bipolarism, but not quite bipolarism. So it's like where someone who is in a full manic episode may completely destroy their life and their mood swings are really massive. Um, Hypomania, the mood swings are less so.
What are you wearing?
A shirt?
No, what's the necklace?
Oh,
Is that,
I don't
is
know.
that just a chain?
Yeah, it's just a chain.
Are you becoming a chain guy?
Well, thanks for misgendering me, but I'm a chain person. Yeah, I am becoming a chain person.
Sorry,
My
it's like,
fucking pronouns are right there on the screen.
Chad, I don't look down at the screen. I don't notice that. The chain is such it's such a masculine look, though. You know what I mean? That's why I sorry about misgendering you, but it does really associate with, like Italian men.
It really makes you rethink those Italian men. It really makes you really think masculinity, doesn't it? When you see me wearing this chain and you're like, wow.
Yes, it does. It does. You know what? I'm sorry.
Masculine, non-binary person just emanating masculinity. It's like I'm drenched in cum. Yeah.
All right, maybe the podcast should start now.
Yeah, okay, 7:56. The podcast will start, and let's note that Tom misgendered me after knowing me for how long? I'm trying to find.
When did this? I don't even care about the hypomania. Is this a part of your hypomania that you become a chain person? What are you wearing? Why are you wearing that?
What are you really hung up on this? I
am. It's a nice chain, but it's like going home and seeing my dad wear a leather bracelet. I'm just going, what is this? You're wearing rings now? What is going on?
Look, this one is an Ouroboros. Ouroboros.
Oh, you got the snake eating itself?
Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about wholeness. It's about trying to find the beginning and the end, which is about letting go, which is kind of a great transition to what we want to talk about for our podcast, the Ouroboros of sobriety.
Go on. I'm intrigued by that.
Let me see how I can work my way.
Yeah, because, I usually think of reincarnation where you're drinking and you just live and die every day. You wake up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every hangover is a little bit of a death and rebirth.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. Every hangover is a chance to start over. And that means to do that, you got to let go of the night before, which means that's the tail. But you also have to accept it, right?
So which is eating it.
You got to eat it.
You got to eat it.
Now you see the connection.
This is very Jungian, I think. So I don't know how the Ouroboros fits in with letting go, but you're clear. But, like a snake shedding its skin, you as a person are shedding a non-chain wearing skin, and you're growing into a ring wearing, chain having, shorter hair person.
Yeah.
And that's an outward expression of an internal transformation of letting go of the dark night of the hangover of the past. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also accepting the things that alcohol it's about accepting the things that alcohol didn't allow me to accept, right? I mean, the Ouroboros is about wholeness. It's about seeing the whole picture and understanding the holistic value of the world and the holistic value of everything that's happening around you. It's much like the yin and yang symbol, right? Yin yang symbol. It's kind of like that. It's about all of that. And so what I've been doing is revisiting things that alcohol had stopped me from exploring and trying to find that and integrate it into my life fully, so that it's not, there aren't these segmented aspects of my past where I was doing this thing and now I'm not. It's more like I was doing this thing and now I'm not, but that was also still me.
Well, it's, I mean, what you're describing is like moving yourself through time, and like you're not the same. We're not ever going to be the same person that we were yesterday, but there is that aspect of that truth bringing us to the current moment. Which, I mean, a lot of that, for me anyway, is it is it's like it's a hard pill to swallow, but my days of sobriety and however whole those days are, or at the very least they're working towards some kind of fullness, are really only possible due to the excruciating years of substance abuse.
Yeah. You're saying that you were able to see your fullness because due to the substance abuse, you were sort of stripped bare. Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, I'm stripped to nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like the
I
think that's
for bare. Stripped to nothing, stripped bare. I said the same thing. You contradicting.
well, I think that in my head. Sorry, I'm in college now, so I'm thinking in terms of like comparative religion. So when you strip bare, I think like, I'm not like unclothed, I'm not like shamed, but I'm more like a bundle being stripped to nothing, like in what is it, shunyata or something, whatever, in Buddhism. Like I've just become non-existent. So maybe strip bare is right. Yeah, I don't know.
No, you're right. I'm just goofing. I'm just goofing.
But I think it's interesting because I want to go back to what you were saying about like not being able to do certain things or like live out certain modes of being when you're drinking, because the more, I mean, it's classic. I think maybe we've touched on this before, but it's kind of a cliche where you drink vodka or whatever and it feels like you emerge from outside of yourself because of different things that get in the way of social dynamics or whatever, and it feels like you're really becoming realized, and then that's nice, but then you never get the right combination down and you overdo it and you slowly kind of lose sight of yourself and what you're even doing, and the more you consume, the less of you exists, really, because you're just like the alcohol is just kind of eating you like the snake, and so by the time you're kind of like done and you do try to seek help or whatever that looks like, I mean you are kind of stripped bare to the point where I need to do anything to kind of exist again.
Yeah, I think so, and I also think it is a lot of that. It's sort of you just reach a point. I mean, some people call it rock bottom, but I don't really know if it's rock bottom as much as it is about this screaming voice in the back of your head that wants you to survive. And that voice for me was questioning their gender and has been ever since they were a kid, and had been struggling with that ever since they were a kid, and then being forced into these gender roles, especially growing up in Texas, which is ridiculously gendered and to a point of like fetishization that like it starts building these projections and these masks and a performance that is easier to do when you're drunk all the time, because it's very masculine to be drunk all the time,
especially in Texas and the South.
Drink with the boys to get some whiskey in you. Yeah, like it was like women drank wine and men drank whiskey, and the sulfates in wine made my asthma act up, so I had to drink whiskey. if I didn't have asthma, I guess I would have maybe discovered this earlier in my life, because I would have been like, I love Chablis. I don't know. You know? And so in sobriety, it was about letting go of all of that. And it wasn't like, oh, finally I'm sober, I can start questioning my gender again. It was like years later. I mean, I got sober in 2018. I didn't start identifying as non-binary until 2022. And it wasn't like I wanted to. Because why would I want to step down from the mantle of straight white guy? You know?
True. Yeah.
But there was that voice, that same voice came back and just started screaming at me. And it also just kept sneaking out, just like it did when I drank. It would sneak out in different and strange and different ways. And so I had to let go. Then I also had to just accept, like, oh yeah, I want to start wearing a chain. And I know that Thomas is going to make fun of me. I know it. I'm going to do it.
I had to say something. It's a good looking chain. I'm not faulting you for wearing a good looking chain. I have to give you some grief because it's, I haven't seen you in so long. Lots changed.
Lot has changed. Yeah, tons. So many things have changed. I have evolved, yeah. Much like the snake. You've evolved too. I mean, you look exactly the same as you did when you were 18, but I don't think that's more of just the genes that you have.
Yeah, I'm more of an inner work type guy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, a lot has changed. Good ways. So, but I think that I liked what you said, because at the 4-year mark, which was for me this past March, this has been like the start of me being just emotionally turmoiled out, and really having to fight some, just, I don't know, man, like stuff gets locked into your psyche, and you just need to take, like, kind of what you were saying with, like, revisiting your true personhood as someone who is not, binary. Like, I can't speak for what that looks like for you, but in like kind of a 4-year span of time putting down booze, that for me, it's been just kind of an explosion of, oh, you hit the 4-year mark. Well, get ready to deal with a bunch of crap, because this has been sitting here, and now, you've tackled this thing that was hard, that thing that was hard, but none of them really hold a candle to this thing that you've been inadvertently like suppressing or ignoring. And it really takes some time and like self-compassion and gentleness to be able to sit down with what you said, that voice that's been screaming in the back of your mind that sometimes gets lost in the noise of your life. But actually being brave enough to let go and sit with that voice helps to, I don't know. I was talking to my priest about this, where that is kind of the start of the healing journey in a lot of ways, and healing always sucks.
Yeah.
So it's just that, yeah. So
yeah, it's like it's sort of like cleaning out your house. Like, you're cleaning up your house. You wake up, you're hungover, you're like, I gotta clean my house. And then suddenly it takes a couple of years, and then suddenly you're down in the basement and you're like, shit, this is like some old stuff. And like your old football jerseys down there, and you got, old photos of like ex-girlfriends from like high school and college. And then like suddenly that's all cleaned out. And then there's this like weird door that you find behind a bookshelf, and then you open that up and you're like, oh shit, this is all just like just primal rage. What is this?
Yes,
What are all
yes,
these primal emotions? What is this?
yeah.
And it's just like there's just like bats and spiders and like things coming out, and you're just like, what the hell? And then you just got to sit there and be like, I kind of like bats. I kind of like spiders.
Yes.
You have to sit with it. You got to let it crawl all over you. I mean,
yeah,
that's really what's been happening a lot since, you know, the breakup, and that happened earlier this year. And this summer has been a lot of like spending time with nature, sitting with myself, accepting when I'm upset, checking in with my energy levels and stuff like that. And like checking in with like my self instead of living in this world where I was, I guess, like looking for improvement from somebody else, living outside of myself.
right.
It turned into this journey into making everything about me my own and owning it. And to do that, I had to let go of a lot of the things that were holding up my own reality. And I don't mean like, oh, I got to let go of my ex. I did that in August. It took some time, but you spent most of August just focused on like not like trying to process what happened to me in that scene. But it's also kind of like letting go of that structure in your head that holds everything together. And like you know when you stare at the horizon, when the horizon is flat, like when I'm looking at the lake on a good placid day, on a nice day, and the lake is placid, and I'm looking at the horizon, you can like stare a while, and then the horizon and the sky start to merge a little bit into one thing, and it's just sort of one color. And that is what I mean. You have to kind of embrace that blur and that weirdness. I took a dance class since the last time we spoke, and she was like, embrace the dizziness. Just be dizzy and embrace it, and like get fully accept that you're dizzy, and then try to move within that dizziness. And I was like, I'm going to put this in the podcast. This is great. This is a great analogy for sobriety. I couldn't wait. But it's like that, you know, you just accept it, and well, at least but when I say you, I mean me. I just accepted it and embraced the dizziness, and then within that, I've been able to uncover a lot in regards to trying to find integration and wholeness. I think beforehand my life was very compartmentalized because that's what I had learned in my abusive childhood. Because you get abused and then you have to hide it from everyone else. So like outside the house, you can't really talk about what's going on inside the house, and that translated into drinking, because you show up and you're kind of drunk from last night or maybe from that morning, or you're like sneaking shots, and you're still hiding this like double life, this compartmentalized life. And that was, for me, that was the structure. There was this projection, and then there was the internal, and then there was like what I wanted people to see, and then it turned out that they saw everything anyways, and I wasn't that great at it, and so I might as well just accept it. But it's because of like this learned behavior, I had to deconstruct the entire structure of how I see things, and I'm still finding myself reacting, expecting the same outcome, like when I'm interacting with people, and then suddenly it's a different outcome, and it's such a strange experience.
Yeah, I that's something that I've been wrestling with, as you know, in my like current relationship where I'm really expectant of things to go one way, because I've been kind of habituated to a certain type of lady, a certain type of gal, uh, and
A certain
and
type
so,
of movie.
um,
Just
but
a real
then
jerk sometimes. Yeah, those kind. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, you know. So when things, it's like almost I get, speaking of primal rage, I get like pissed off because things aren't going the way that I'm expecting them to. It's like, no, no, no. There's a narrative in my head. You need to be mean to me. That's what needs to happen next. That's what I'm familiar with. And if you don't do that, you're not hitting your marks. And as the director of my life, you are really messing up my play. So will you please just like let's continue this cycle of um, subtle and nuanced narcissistic abuse, because I don't know, if you don't follow the script that is in my head, then how am I going to know that I'm in the right place?
Yeah, it's jarring. It's like
it's
not
very
totally
jarring. So
jarring.
it's like you come out of yourself a little bit because you go, wait, what? Why are you listening? Why are you being nice? Stop.
People do that? What is that?
Yeah, what is that? What do you want? Just tell me what you want. Do you want a cigarette? I'll give you a cigarette.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
So there's a lot of like unlearning that comes with it's not sobriety, but like with recovery itself. Like there's so much unlearning, and there's so much deconstruction of your own psyche where you go, oh man, I've coded my brain to just be insane because that's how I survived. Like I survived by breaking my brain to just be okay being a little insane, be for whatever, for different reasons. And so like getting to a sense of normalcy, especially after substance abuse, and being in relationships that aren't as fun, then it's like I was telling my lady the other day where I was telling her like, being sober for however many years now, and then also recognizing these kind of behaviors and cycles before having a real problem with alcohol, and then certainly during, I just feel like such a kid. Like I'm like 17 years old in a lot of different departments of my brain, where I'm having to like learn all this stuff for the first time again. And it is jarring, like you said.
Yeah, I've been experiencing that a lot too. And I have to like let people know that. I have to be like, hey, just so you know that there are some things that I just don't know, and I don't know how to explain them to you, because then I would know what those things were. But I keep running into things where I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's like complex emotional things like here's a good one. I have a really hard time delineating between when I should be compassionate or pissed off, or when I should be like, when I should stand up for myself, or when I'm being a dick. Because I'll go from like 0 to 100.
Yes.
And that's it. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And then like people are like, we need to have this conflict resolution talk. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Let's do it.
Yes. We're going outside, aren't we?
Yeah. And then they're like, when you said this thing, it made me feel this way. And I'm like, yeah, well, you said that thing. It made me feel this way. And they're like, I validate your feelings. And you're like, what? What the fuck? What is that? Well, I apologize for being upset. And they're like, you don't have to apologize. It's okay to be upset. And you're like, what?
That was at my monthly meeting with the monk. We talked about how I have that problem now, where in terms of, if we use the cross as an example of a symbol to represent this, but it's you never meet in the middle. I can never meet in the middle. I can never be, in that middle balanced way. I always have to go out to the either extreme of the right or left poles, where, I'll shut down, or I'm about to be a tornado of just the worst type of dude who thinks he's standing up for himself, but also is standing your ground on someone else's ground. And that's not conducive for any kind of communication.
Yeah. And I also don't know how to stand my ground. It's so frustrating to just sit there and be have an argument that's a regular argument and not fully expect for it to just completely blow up in your face.
Yeah, so you're almost you're anticipating it by becoming the thing that's blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's been a really difficult thing moving forward with this, is just trying to figure out where's that line where I can, how do you how do I lay boundaries down without being like, this is my boundary?
Yes.
By just being somebody who has that, can just say it and be with people who will accept that. One thing that I noticed that I do, and I think this is connected with my hypomania and with this sort of hard time figuring out when is it appropriate to stand up for yourself, is I will have something happen to me, like an argument, or even a little one time I was on the train in Chicago, and this I was right there at the Addison stop where Wrigleyville is, and there was a bunch of dads going to the baseball game, and he grabbed I was so I was trying to get out of the train, and this guy was trying to get out at the same time, so he did one of those whoop, 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 you me, you me, and then he grabbed the back of my arm and guided me out.
What?
Yeah. And it was 2 days later, I'm in the grocery store, and I was like, what the fuck? That was so disrespectful. That dude could have just used his words. He didn't have to touch me. And to do it in such a way, it was and then I was upset all day about it, because I can't even tell that guy when I could have just if I were present in the moment, I could have just been whoa, just go ahead, or something like that. It would have been an easy situation, but instead I just didn't think about it. Went on to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And then suddenly, when I had a moment to myself, I was enraged. That happens to me a lot, right? It takes a long time for me to learn that I'm upset, and that's where I need to let go of that kind of anticipation that things will blow up in my face and that it's okay for me to be upset, and I got to let go of that and then start exploring what that is like how to not go to 100. What does 75% look like? What does 30% look like? And that's I think also why I drank so much, because I didn't trust that I couldn't manage any situation. So if I was drunk, I had at least an excuse. And also it's fun. I was the fun guy. No one wants to mess with the fun guy, or no one wants to like, you know, be mean to the drunk guy. He's drunk.
I mean, people will do more of the latter, but yeah, certainly, I get what you mean. Because people had no problem being mean to me when I was being drunk fun guy.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's like you have that sort of lack of accountability, at least internally, where you're just like, oh, I'm drunk. It's fine. I'm drunk. I'll deal with that later. I'm drunk. But when you've been drunk for 15 years, that the later catches up with you 4 years into sobriety.
yeah, that's kind of the been the theme of this year has been, all this stuff that I didn't know about and or suppressed is coming up pretty quick. And it's a lot of sink or swim, because, a lot of my own, I guess, it's like substance abuse type mentality just comes up, where I get triggered and I go, okay, well, it's time to burn down my life and start again somewhere else. And that's not going to be helpful. And I've already done that enough where I just can't, I don't want to do that again.
Isn't that how you ended up in Albuquerque?
It is. It's exactly how I ended up in Albuquerque. So yeah, it's actually, and my fiance is like being,
whoa,
yeah,
wow.
lots changed. Ooh, yeah. You're a chain person. I'm engaged.
Wow.
We're all doing different things.
Yeah.
But
mine's rooted in looking good, and yours is rooted in an archaic institution of marriage.
Yeah. We all have fun. We all have fun different ways.
Yeah, I mean, you've always been anachronistic, so it's really retro, so it's cool.
Yeah, it fits in with my Luddite lifestyle, so this is perfect.
I think you should go further back and then just do a full circle like the Ouroboros and have multiple wives. Very Old Testament.
Yeah, we're not going to go that far. So we're going to go just strictly New Testament. But the thing I bring up, my fiance, and I want to like give a shout out, because her ability to just go like sit with me and go, all right, you're having a tough time. You're having a tough 6 months. You're having a tough 8 months. And actually like dragging a lot of it out of me and getting to the point of, oh, okay, what I thought was the problem isn't the problem. And what I now know is the problem is scary, and I don't want to deal with it. But then actually sitting down and dealing with the problem, which is, like a whole matrix of memories and like an Indra's net of trauma, and like really sitting and going, okay, well, this is what I'm feeling, and this is why I'm feeling it, and this is how I'm feeling it, and this is why it's being amplified, due to, I was 3 and this happened, I was 16 and this happened, and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't deal with any of that because I didn't know that you needed tools to deal with that. I thought you were just supposed to like walk off a lot of stuff.
Yeah, stuff down brown.
When like you get betrayed by your friends, and you get betrayed by your family, you get betrayed by your girlfriends, you just kind of have a mentality of, whoops, that was my bad, I guess. Sorry about being super easy to betray. I guess I'm gonna like try again. And then inevitably, or doesn't inevitably happen, but then it'll happen again and again and again until you're just kind of like, well, I'm just going to drink because at least I know who's betraying me now. It's me. Yeah. So.
Man, that's interesting. It does give you a sense of power when the world around you is just treating you like shit constantly. When you're doing it to yourself before they do, it gives you that sense of power. Yeah, that's the part too where you're just like, well, I did participate in that.
Yes. Going back to what we've said before, like that's a part of the acceptance process where like, oh man, I shot myself in the foot every day for a period of years. And yes, there were a lot of reasons that it was easy for me to shoot myself in the foot. I didn't think my foot was worthy to not be shot. So, and that wasn't me that said that. That was someone else a long time before. But at the same time, I still like participated in external influences and actors who treated me poorly to the point where I just did their work for them.
Yeah. Yeah, you were that one kid on the project and the group project who did all the work.
Yeah.
Eventually that's what happens. And then because of that, you attract shittier people who want you to do all the work for you. And so you're never going to find anyone until you stop doing the work. And then you start doing your own work, and fuck them. They can do their own work too. That's part of letting go too. I had spent some time in Michigan with this wildly like unique and eclectic community, and one of them was this my friend's mom who is like this great quilter and crafter, but she also loves to host people and keep up with friends and things like that. And my friend was saying that like, yeah, mom always like, she's always been like that, but one thing that she's really good about is she knows when to let go of people. Like when they aren't good for her or serve, like not, I don't want to say serving because I think that there's like a transactional relationship there, but they're just not on the same wavelength anymore, or it's their presence is even hurting them. And that's something I always struggled with because I was just like, we're friends till the end, and like loyalty and things like that, which just can be good, but in a lot of ways it blinded me from seeing the people that I needed to let go of, and also seeing their traits, like you were saying, the people that you used to date, and letting go of that and trying not to fall for that again, which was really hard because then you let go of it, but then you got to be like, well, okay, but what do I got now? Like, what am I supposed to, what looks good? Who's nice? Yeah. And that shit was difficult.
Because it's super easy finding a partner who will use you, like, yeah. It's super easy finding a partner who can recognize your quote unquote weakness of being loyal, overly loyal, that they'll just walk right over you like all the time. And you just kind of give in because you go, well, this is normal. This is what I know. I'm familiar with this.
This is what love is.
Yeah, this is what love is. Yeah.
And then like 3 days later, you're like, that's not what love is. And then it's just like,
everybody at the grocery store is like, what happened?
The guy's yelling in the cheese aisle.
Yeah. I talked to my girlfriend.
What?
Right, my fiance.
Okay.
I don't know. Like I talked to my lady who has a ring on her finger. I was telling her, like I think it's weird that you don't love bomb me. Like I'm not. I find it weird that you love me in a very like balanced and pretty grounded way. And I'm not used to that. So I don't think that you love me because you're not willing to like just like carpet bomb me and, with this kind of like manipulation tactic of keeping somebody around, which is what I'm used to in like past relationships where, like someone treats you kind of poorly and then they just like dumpster load love on you. And man, that feels really good. Because it's kind of like hitting the jackpot on like dopamine or something. But when you're not exposed to that and your partner is pretty like secure in the attachment, then you're almost like, well, where's the manipulation? I mean, are you not even like, do you love me? Will you manipulate me a little bit? Like, do you want me around? but you have to like shift your perspective of it entirely, because you're just not, at least in my case, I'm just not used to somebody just like sitting with me and that being like, I don't know, there's just no chaos. Because apparently there doesn't have to be.
That's the goal.
Yeah, well, I'm not. It's like I'm telling her, and I'm just going, "Where's the chaos? Why aren't you like? Why doesn't this hurt me? Why am I like? Why do I come home and I know exactly what's going to happen? That's not why won't you try?" And having like this weird conversation of her going, "That's not what we're gonna do."
And what
like,
it's a double-edged sword too, because now you don't have that external chaos to distract you from your internal chaos.
Yes.
So you're like, wait, but please kick some shit up, because I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go in that closet with the spiders and the bats. I know I got to clean it out, because we're trying to restore this house and we got to look for mold and stuff. But I just don't want to do it right now. And then but they're just like, man, that's not who I am. And you're like, okay, I guess I got to go get a broom.
Well, and then like for what happened with me was going, okay, well, if you don't do your part and make this externally chaotic in this relationship, well, I'm just going to go inside and make up a bunch of shit about you and project it onto this relationship. And that's what we're going to do for the next 6 months. So buckle up, because I'm going to be very distant and avoidant, and it's going to be your fault, and you're not going to know why.
Is that what happened?
That is pretty much what happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like I went into the internal stuff, and I went, nope, absolutely not going to do this. I'm going to make up a play. I'm going to write a play, and I'm going to cast my girlfriend in it, and she's going to be the antagonist, and she's not going to know it. And and then that led to a whole mess of problems that we finally worked through, because I realized like I'm insane, and everything that I'm projecting on you is stuff that I didn't recover from, reconcile, and accept and let go of from like the past 20 years.
Yeah. And that's especially hard if you've been severely gaslit for much of your life, where you're kind of, and also unsure if your emotions are in check or at the same level, Yeah. And it's like, you're just like, I don't know if that's what I mean too, where it's like, I don't know if I'm reacting properly to this.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you're finally standing up for yourself for the first time, but you're like way overdoing it. You're overacting, you're overselling it. And just because you never had to, because you never knew you could. And so you're standing up for yourself for the past, 30 years of your life. And you're like, you're talking to this person who's maybe your coworker or your partner or someone, and you're acting like you're like speaking truth to power or something, because you're like standing up for what happened to you when you're like 3,
Yeah. Oh, I know. This is something I struggle with all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like my nervous system is also all over the place. And like I'll be like shaking, and I'll just be like, I'm trying to not feign right now, and I'm trying to stand up for myself. And it's just like, you're like the cowardly lion, like trying to like get the bravery, but to stand up to like someone who doesn't really necessarily deserve it.
Yeah.
Because of so many times you didn't do it to the people who did deserve it.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to let go of. And it's also just hard to navigate, because you don't have your reps in, and it's also very difficult to find someone who is educated in that kind of stuff to know that like a lot of the ways that you're reacting are based in things that have nothing to do with them. It would be so easy to take that personally. You know what I mean? So easy to just be like, well, fuck you, Tom. You're being avoidant and distant for 6 months. I'm out.
Yeah.
And that would be the end of it. And then when they don't do that, And you're just like, what are you still doing? What are you
Yes. Yeah, you're like, what? Well, I thought I told you. I mean, I gave you plenty of. The door's open. You know, like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah. 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 I've been struggling with that a lot lately. I've been seeing someone new for the last month or so. A little over a month now. Our first date was on the harvest moon in September.
Oh,
And yeah.
little
And
wait, Mabon? Is that Mabon?
yeah, I mean, you tell me. You're
I
the
think
one
it's
who's
the
getting
Mabon.
married.
I
So
don't know how it's
you're,
pronounced, but
I'm sure you have a subscription to the Farmer's Almanac. You know, I don't know.
yeah, the Farmer's Almanac is pretty clear about the moon and the harvest
Earth
festivals.
rituals. Yeah, what to do with your corn, um, how to make a plow. So yeah, it was funny. So we like in here in Chicago, the harvest moon rose above the lake, and we went on this date. I go on walking dates because I'm cheap, and I don't want to pay a bunch of money. So we met, got some coffee, and then went for a walk to the lake, and we're talking and we're chatting, and then suddenly the moon rose above the lake like a sunrise,
Wow.
like something I've never seen before. And we were really just hitting it off. And then, like, right about that moment, I was like, oh no, this is some manic pixie dream girl shit. This is something where I'm going to be like, it's in the stars that we're supposed to be together, literally. Like, the celestial beings are gracing us to be in this relationship. And then I was like, I got to run because I know that my little dopamine mind is going to want more of this and it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
And then she goes, she says out loud, this is some manic pixie dream girl shit. And I was like, who the fuck is this? What the hell? and
Wow.
And it was a lot of that. It was a lot of like, ever since then, it's been a lot of me being like, oh no, this is bad. This is something that I've done in the past and I'm trying not to do it anymore. And then she's like, yeah, this is bad. We shouldn't do this anymore. And I was just like, what is this? Fortunately, she's also sober. That's a big thing. She's in recovery, and which is a big difference, I think. We
Definitely.
yeah. So she's in recovery, sober and in recovery, and we talked a lot about that. And like, I think it's just like we were saying, like going through that in your life gives you an opportunity to see the world differently because everything else around you got destroyed. It's like Japan in the 40s. And eventually Japan in the 40s became Japan in the 80s. Recovery is a lot like Japan's economic, I'm not smart enough the economic upturn. Recovery, here's the soundbite. Recovery is a lot like Japan's economic upturn of the 20th century. With the help of America, we can,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
With the support and finance of America, we can rise to be a major mega superpower yet again, being yet just a tiny island.
Yeah, it's like exactly the same.
yeah.
Well, so okay, so the relationship is going good because you have a similar lens in which you see the world.
Well, it's also that we're both on the same road. Same reason why you and I are good friends. Like we're both on the same journey in a lot of ways, and so we were able to share our own insights. It's difficult to explain to somebody who isn't in recovery or like who's experienced addiction what it's like. And I've had people ask me, and I don't really know how to explain it. The only and me with my analogies, the only way I can explain it is that it's like Japan in the 40s. And no, it's like Japan in the 30s. And you're just destroying everything around you. And just, completely decimating most of Asia. And then suddenly everyone's mad at you for years, centuries even. So much like that. Actually, the analogy that I have, it actually really works if you know enough about like the history of, anyways. I actually, the way I describe it, it's like being yelled at in a car. You ever been in a car and someone's driving and you're in the passenger seat and they're just like ripping into you? That's what addiction is like.
That's a really good analogy.
You mean better than Japan in the 30s?
That's what. Well, the Japan in the 30s, I think, is like a good like tweet or something. But the other one, I think, has legs for you could take that on stage.
It's like being yelled at in a car. It sucks, and you can't get out. And if you do, you're gonna hit the ground, going like 50, 60 miles an hour. It's gonna hurt, and that's the only way out.
Wait, are you saying that you have to jump out?
Yeah, that's the only way out. It doesn't stop. I mean, it does when it crashes, but
it helps to kind of keep that in mind. Like doing this work that I've been doing here lately has been it's just giving yourself grace and compassion with that analogy in mind, just going, look, you jumped out of a car, and no matter when you jumped out of the car, be it 4 years ago or last week, it's weird and it hurts, and there's a lot of long-lasting damage that a lot of it becomes like psychological because I don't know, you jumped out of a car. That's insane, but there's so much.
Also, a lot of people don't survive jumping out of a car. And by a lot, I mean, I think the statistic is like 90%.
Of jumping out of a car?
Oh, I'm in the analogy. I'm talking about recovery. I'm talking about reaching sobriety. I mean, like Jason is not a lot of us make it. And there's a lot that you leave behind. There's a lot of us that we left behind. And a lot of us that didn't get out alive.
That's the thing that, like, it's like a bittersweet thing to recognize and acknowledge, which is what you did or what you're doing is statistically a fatal thing. And what you were doing before statistically was fatal too. It's kind of like a, damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of issue. But when you're going down the road of recovery, at some point you do kind of hit like weird walls, and you're like, the bats come out of that weird door in the basement. You do lose your mind. That's what's happened to me this past, like, since June or July. I've basically just lost my mind, and had to pick up the pieces of what kind of fell out, and working through stuff that wasn't there, last month, or was there, but I just didn't realize it was. And man, there's so many times where you go, well, I could either drink again or kill myself. So maybe I'll just give it one more day, and just trying to find ways to, I don't know, sit with yourself, but in a sometimes you can just do too much healing, like all at once. You got to take like baby steps, I feel like you will drive yourself crazy. It's like you open too many wounds and you go, well, what the hell do I do now? But I think it's nice to just give yourself a little grace and just go, yeah, you jumped out of a car. Not everybody makes it, so just relax.
Yeah. And try to forget about the car. For a little bit. I mean, you built that car, but try to forget about it. I think that's important. I looked it up while you were talking, and because I wasn't listening. I'm just kidding. I was. I and it says 18% of recovering alcoholics are able to abstain from drinking for 1 year, and then only 36%. What does this say? This is a weird. Recovery rates are less than 36% for people with a severe or lifetime alcohol dependence. So yeah, only 36% of us get out of it, and only 18% of us make it to a year. And then when you make it to 2 years, it says 60% once they make it to 2 years, stay sober for the rest of their life. And this is according to newdirectionsforwomen.org.
How dare you misgender me, Jody? I need statistics for men.
Sorry. It's different for men. 100% of men make it because they're so fucking tough. That's what it says. It says 100% of men just grit their teeth and bear it.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. All my dudes out there, 100% of us.
Yeah, jump out of that car. Fuck cars.
We're so big and tough and sober.
Just put your feet down, Flintstone style. Now, I think we should wrap it up there. Thanks for listening, y'all. We're going to get back into the groove of things. And I hope that you enjoy it. I do want to state that I probably should have said this at the beginning of the podcast, that we are not equipped to handle any sort of crisis things or like early recovery things. But I am going to leave some really great resources in the show notes in case that's something that's happening. We've had a couple of people reach out during a crisis, and it's a little outside of our wheelhouse. We're just two comedians talking about sobriety. But we do know some people who are better at that. So look in the show notes for some great resources and check back for the new show whenever we fucking feel like it. And, keep on keeping on. What was it that we were going to end it with? What is the word that we used to say? Axios.
Oh, Axios. Fellers.